Okay, everybody. Big news coming out of the Tesla story again. I feel like we're doing these more and more lately. Yes, from Elon Musk yesterday. Very vague right now, but this has a ton of context, and it's very important because this is a pretty big announcement from Elon Musk and Tesla. It all started with a post from Hallmark's catalog on X. The nag has no reason to exist anymore. Kill it. In response to Dirty Tesla, who's a Tesla account, I recommend following both of them, talking about how there was 10 minutes without a nag for the current version of FSD, which is Tesla's full self-driving software. And then Elon Musk said, fixed in 12.4. To which I asked, Elon Musk insinuates that the nag present in FSD that asks the driver to lightly pull on the wheel will be removed in 12.4. Elon Musk, can you confirm if true this is a pretty big deal? And he replied with yes. So it seems like, seems pretty freaking direct. I always love how Elon Musk likes to make these announcements about Tesla just in a very passive manner on X, formerly known as Twitter. But we do have confirmation from Elon Musk that the steering wheel nag that's currently present in full self-driving for Tesla will be removed starting with version 12.4 of FSD. Now, for those that are not familiar, the steering wheel nag is basically a thing that the full self-driving software in Tesla's cars asks you to do to ensure that you're alive while you're operating the vehicle in full self-driving mode. There's a blue bar that comes up at the top of the screen, and there's a thing here that says apply light force to the steering wheel to make sure that you're there. And this picture is from Torque News. So thank you guys for sharing this picture. So what this basically means now is that with the release of FSD 12.4, which should be released to probably the employees first in the company within the next couple of weeks, is that you no longer have to put a steering force in the wheel while the car's driving yourself. It becomes a hands-free system where you don't have to use your hands or anything to ensure that the system knows you're there. Presumably, it's going to just use the cabin camera in the car, so the little camera that's at the top of the rear view mirror, to monitor driver attentiveness is the assumption here, because I don't know what other way they're going to use to ensure that people are paying attention, unless they're removing people paying attention, which I highly, highly doubt we're there yet. So they're going to move from people putting in inputs in the steering wheel to just the camera making sure that people are paying attention. Now, what's very interesting about this, and I think this is worth talking about, because there's two other systems out there. Actually, there's three other systems out there that already do hands-free driving. But the context in which they do it in, I think, is really the big breakthrough here. So if we look at Ford's Blue Cruise, so Ford's Blue Cruise allows for hands-free driving only on highways and only on specific highways. It's something that I know Ford owners with the Mach-E, and I believe the F-150 Lightning also has this. They love this feature, but you can only use it on specific highways. Same thing with Super Cruise from Chevy. They also offer the hands-free driving on the highways, but it's only on select highways under certain conditions, just like Ford's. And you also have a system from Mercedes that also has hands-free driving. And they also have a level 3 system, which allows eyes off the road as well. So you don't have to pay attention, but it's in super limited cases. I believe you have to be under 45 miles an hour in traffic on the highway. It can't be raining. It's a bunch of different things, which is really cool. I'm glad stuff like this exists, but it's very, very limited. What makes the Tesla one very unique, in my opinion, is that it's hands-free driving. It's going to very, very likely be on city streets, and that's something that no other automaker offers. Every other automaker, all of their hands-free feature sets are highway, so it's divided highway, only some highways, whereas Tesla is going to be able to release a hands-free system in the city as well. And that's very unique to that use case. Now, what's also really interesting about this is that I think let's say if Tesla's able to execute this well, if Tesla's able to come out with a hands-free system in the city that allows anybody behind the steering wheel to just let the car drive itself, and all you have to do is just look instead of putting in your hands. This is going to be something that could improve Tesla's chances of licensing their full self-driving stack, which is something that Elon Musk has been talking about in the past. Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but what's unique about this is that it's creating this thing where Tesla's FSD is going to be the only hands-free system in the city. And it's also going to be uploadable to all Tesla cars in the fleet that have been made starting in 2016, I believe, that presumably would have that cabin camera in the cabin where it can monitor the driver to ensure that they're paying attention. I'm assuming it's going to start in that way. So any cars starting in 2016 that receive the FSD 12.4 update, which will require hardware 3 FSD computers, which I believe were released in 2017. You can upgrade some Teslas to that system. You're going to have 8-year-old cars that are going to be updated to have hands-free driving in the city and in the highway. So instead of having to buy a new car that allows you to do that, Tesla's going to be able to update its whole fleet to be able to do that. So I really want to talk a little bit more in depth about that in the Q&A session as well. So if y'all have any questions or anything, do bring them up, because I do think that this is a this is a kind of a big deal, and it kind of points to where the company is going as well, which we have some clues from Elon and Tesla about what that is. Real quick, for those that have Cybertrucks, we finally have some guidance from the company about FSD on those trucks as well, where Elon Musk said this morning that they must focus on FSD for the other 99% of the fleet. Cybertruck FSD is a few months away, which I think if you're a Cybertruck owner and you read this message, you're probably pretty bummed out, and I completely understand. I feel like Tesla should do something. You know, when this is finally released to the Cybertruck, I think it's kind of a bummer that it's a flagship product and they don't have FSD on those cars yet. I understand wanting to make sure it's safe, and maybe hopefully they can give Cybertruck owners an autopilot, but it's kind of a bummer that their flagship product doesn't have the latest FSD. But I think it probably points more to they have to collect more data for the truck, but it's kind of a bummer that y'all have to keep waiting. So, but I want to make sure you guys are in the loop in case you do own a Cybertruck, because I know a lot of Tesla folks follow my channel. And then there's also this bit right here. Actually, I want to hit this one next. I want to bring you up to speed on this one first from Sawyer, where there's also a software branch for 2024.8.9. It's basically the FSD update that I believe is still stuck on version 11. It doesn't have full self-driving. We keep trying to ping the folks at Tesla to get their eyes on this. I'm pretty confident they're already aware, where there's certain version 11 guys that don't have version 12 in their cars yet. Sawyer, myself, and a bunch of other people that cover Tesla keep getting messages from owners. So just to let you know, we are trying to get Tesla's attention on this, and I'm sure they're working on it. Hopefully, y'all get an update soon. So just to get you guys in the loop as far as that goes. Now, there was a post from a user, AJ, on X at Alternate Jones, where he posted, I think Elon is pivoting Tesla from selling cars to selling rides, and the resulting value creation will be unlike anything the world has ever seen before. Not financial advice, not investment advice. I think what's the interesting thing here is that Elon Musk liked this post on X, and this is from a user from yesterday at 8:39 p.m. And I think what's very interesting about that is now we're starting to get a lot of different sort of data points and arrows, let's say, that are pointing to the company really starting to take self-driving technology much more seriously, and they're starting to execute against that vision instead of just talking about it. I think one of Tesla's biggest points of criticism for the last few years is that they've been very aggressive on the timeline of self-driving technology actually coming and the resulting technology that actually came. So I'm sure you're all aware, Elon Musk always promising that self-driving was going to be a year away. And then Tesla owners kept being like, very cool, but not there yet. Very cool, but not there yet. And it also brought a lot of different hate and doubt from people that are outside of the story that were throwing, shooting arrows and bullets at Elon and Tesla and everything else, right? But now it seems like a lot of the actions that the company is taking is starting to align with that vision. So full self-driving version 12 going end-to-end neural net, which would allow the cameras only to be able to drive the car. Then you have the removal of the nag as well, right? The removal of the nag is a huge step to allowing the car to be self-driving. If you're removing steps for the driver to actually pay attention and then move it so that the car's actually driving, then you're removing another layer that allows the car to drive itself, right? You have things like going to China and getting FSD approval. You have things like reorganizing the entire business with the layoffs, right, which are very controversial. The layoff of the supercharging team, which is very controversial. But there's a lot of steps being taken now to move it. And I think this is a huge point of discussion. I'm actually looking forward to speaking about this with Hans tomorrow. We're going to have our podcast, and I think this is going to be one of the major topics to really get in depth into what this actually means. Because it really does seem like the company is taking steps to transition. And folks from the outside looking in, I think the people that are not following the story closely might have a lot of doubts because it sounds so crazy. Like, are you sure you're going to be able to create a car that drives itself? And you're telling me the cars that have been out there for the last 8 years are just going to drive themselves? That sounds crazy. It does sound crazy. It does sound crazy. But I think that the missing variable there is that Tesla has invested a lot of money and effort into creating a computer that's in their cars right now, the Hardware 3 computer, that is based on a neural net architecture. So it's had this neural net chip essentially that can process neural nets that is finally being used after 8 years of sitting dormant with Tesla's end-to-end neural net approach. And it's the first time they've been able to do that. Truly, with version 12, and now they're increasing their compute as well with all the H100s and H200s. I'm sure they're buying that's doubling and tripling and quadrupling and quintupling I think that's right, but multiplying their training hardware so they can process more and more data. And as they sell more and more cars, they collect more and more data, which they can throw to more and more compute. So the system gets more and more better. My grammar's terrible today. My apologies, but all of this has been in the works for a really long time. And so now I think it's up to the company to actually execute against that vision, right? They have to get to a point where they've been talking about this for a long time. And now it feels like, and again, this is just commentary. This is me trying to put two and two together here. It feels like they're finally ready to execute against that vision. That's what it feels like to me. And the only way to know that for sure is to download the software, get in the car, and seeing how it performs, right? One of the things that I posited on this channel once version 12 was announced was that one of the things we need to see is a very fast pace of improvement, because one of the benefits of having basically an AI brain, this neural net approach to process your data, is that the improvement should be directly tied to how much hardware and data you can collect and how quickly you can iterate that, which will make your improvements a lot faster. And what's interesting to see is that Tesla has been able to go from about 2 months ago releasing this brand new approach to the fleet to making drastic improvements so that a lot of those little corner cases went away. It's not perfect, but a lot of those corner cases with the previous versions went away. They were also able to remove the beta label, and they just went to full self-driving supervised. And now they're also able to remove the nag, right? You actually having to put your hands on the wheel and just going hands-free. All of that has happened in the span of 2 to 3 months, which is it truly is remarkable. And they just got their additional training compute for the data, right? So a lot of these improvements are not even based on all the hardware that they've purchased. All the hardware that they've purchased will likely be improvements for systems like 12.5 and 12.6, which are going to be the improvements on 12.4. Removing the nag and maybe doing some crazy stuff in parking decks and drive-throughs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, a lot is happening in the land of Tesla right now with self-driving technology. And I know a lot of people are skeptical. And I think that the most important thing here is to just talk about it, create spaces for people to be exposed to what's happening. I'm obviously not going to be capable of covering absolutely every single variable, so I encourage everyone to just do your own research, go out and find points that are directly counter to what I'm saying, finding different variables, going and listening to Tesla themselves talk about it. Just go in there and do your own research, because I think what's interesting about this whole thing is that if this does work, if self-driving technologies does work, and it works on a fleet that is 8 years old, and people will be able to eventually not even have to pay attention while the car drives them around, then I think there's a serious question that says, what is the demand of a car that can drive itself, that is 8 years old, that a lot of people already have access to? What is the demand for a product like that versus a product that won't be able to do that? And so the question becomes, how easy is it to install that kind of system on a different car? How big of an advantage does Tesla have by having a nag-free, hands-free city driving stack that will eventually become level 4, where you don't even have to pay attention anywhere? What are the implications of that? I know where my head is at with that. But I encourage you guys to do all your own research. None of this is any advice whatsoever. This is just me speaking out loud to a crowd of people that I know appreciate covering this story. A bunch of us are, huge nerds when it comes to this. And I think it's just super cool to talk about it openly with y'all. So with that said, let's go do a little bit of Q&A. So if you're joining us live, drop a question in the comment box with question before, so it's easier for me to find, or just drop a comment. I'll try to find it. And if you're joining us on recording, pull up the live chat so you can follow along with us. So let's go ahead and pull up a couple. By the way, shout out again to Mimi and DRK for that awesome gift for our little baby boy that's coming here hopefully soon. My wife's 37 weeks, so she's full term. So now it's just a matter of the little one just deciding to come out. So we'll see. Okay, so good question from BP1T. Doesn't NHTSA require the nag? So they require. So the way NHTSA works, from my understanding, is that you have to prove to NHTSA that you're able to operate a certain level of self-driving technology, as long as you give them the data that proves that you can do that. So they don't necessarily require the nag. What it is that you have to prove to NHTSA that you can operate a system without a nag. And that's why you have things like Blue Cruise from Ford. That's a hands-free that doesn't have a nag. Super Cruise, that's a hands-free that doesn't have a nag, right? So it's up to the automaker to prove that to NHTSA to be able to do that. So now the question becomes, does this mean that Tesla has already gotten approval, let's say, to operate the nag without a nag in 12.4? Or is it going to come out with a 12.4.2 or 12.4.3? It's hard to say, but it is interesting that Tesla, at least Elon Musk, has confirmed that 12.4, whichever the branch of 12.4 is going to be, won't have the nag. And of course, it would have gone through enough approval to be able to do that. You can't just randomly put something in a car that doesn't abide to regulations. I guess you could, and that's what recalls are. That's what recalls are from all the freaking other every automaker has recalls. But something like this it would be pretty huge, and it'd be very silly for them if they didn't take enough steps to ensure that NHTSA is on board. So let's see. From Mavrez on YouTube, do you think Tesla will allow users to own FSD and transfer it to any Tesla, and in the future, even to any other brands who license FSD? Great question. But on the last quarterly earnings call, when they asked Elon Musk if he would reinstate the transfer of FSD, he said no. So I think Tesla is very unwilling to allow transfers, and I think they much rather owners buy FSD with the vehicle, which that's a controversial thing, and I can understand why people are upset about that, because you are paying quite a bit of money to get the license. That could change in the future, but it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. Nag is, David, is just you having to essentially put a little bit of force in the steering wheel in a Tesla or any other car to ensure that the car knows you're there. It's being removed with the latest version that's coming out here in a couple weeks for Teslas. Okay. Let's do a couple more. Does anyone else experience with FSD has it stay in the fast lane and doesn't return to right-hand lane on the 2-lane highway? Yep, I have this experience with FSD. I try to minimize lane changes, so there's a setting to minimize lane changes in the screen. But the thing is, the highway stack with FSD is still version 11, so it's not a version 12 neural net approach. It's still, I think, a heuristics one with its human code on the highway. And my hope is with the 12.4 update, they move the highway driving like it is in the city driving, which is the AI doing everything. And that's been a problem with version 11, where, I mean, it's a problem depending where you drive. In Texas, freaking everyone's in the left lane. It's a freaking, literally there's people passing in the middle and the right lane. The left lane is like the cruise lane out here. So it drives like a Texan. Yeah, I do experience that. It's something that I brought up before, and I'm hoping they change it as well. Because it's like, keep right except to pass, you know? When the freaking road doesn't even listen to that, what the hell are you supposed to do? Ugh. When will most users get 12? I'm stuck on 11. Yep, I just brought this up earlier in the stream. We're putting messages out there to try and get Tesla's attention to get people out of 11. The rumor is that the spring update will get everybody on 12, but we'll see. It's hard to tell right now. This is a black box, just like Cybertruck getting autopilot. We're still not really sure what Tesla's doing. So hopefully soon. I'm sure it's frustrating for people that own these products for sure. Let's see. What else do we got? Looking forward to version 12.4. I still have some annoying issues on 12.3.6, but no safety issues. Yeah, that's the kind of experience I've had too. There was one instance, 12.3.6 for me has been a little bit of a regression from 12.3, whatever it was before 3, where in my area, it does do a little bit more stupid stuff. Not necessarily safety critical, but it's doing a little bit more stupid stuff than it was doing with 12.3.3. So for me, 12.3.6 has gotten slightly worse, but I wonder if Tesla's doing that. It's weird because I've experienced that with every single version where the one of the initial versions is the best one, and as they go with more improvements, it gets slightly worse and worse and worse and worse. So I wonder if like that's the way of creating exceptions, like places where I have to take over so they can collect more data. I don't know, but 12 has been a gigantic improvement over 11. I can't really state how big of an improvement has been, and people that I highly recommend people go out and experience it themselves because it really is quite cool. Very, very, very cool. Do you think FSD will make it to the semi? Seems like a game changer for the industry. I'm sure eventually it will. It probably requires a ton of training data because the form factor is so different of the semi. I feel like we're probably years away for that because the regulations around, self-driving a 80,000 pound missile down a road are going to be drastically different than, a 3,000, 4,000 pound car. So I'm okay with that taking as long as it needs to take because that's one where you want zero errors, right? And so my assumption is that the rollout of that's going to be very, very slow, but I would be surprised if that doesn't come eventually to Tesla semis. Let's see. When are you getting your Cybertruck? Mine is awesome. Best vehicle I have ever driven. The stereo really is that incredible. Yeah, I've been in a Cybertruck multiple times. One of my neighbors has one, and I've been able to drive it around for content and stuff. Thank you, Chase. Shout out. We're going to wait after the little one's born and we're settled in. I was able to spec a Founder series a few months ago, but we decided to wait because the delivery timeline and the delivery timeline of this guy we're going to align. And we made the decision to prioritize our child over the Cybertruck. Ugh, I know. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. But yeah, we're going to give it a little bit. We're going to settle in. We're going to make sure that we have everything in place. And then once we're comfortable, then we'll get the Cybertruck. We don't really need 2 cars. We have one already. So it's like one of those things where we're trying to be adults. But it's hard. It's hard to be adults. Let's see. Let's do a couple more. From Richard, I'm new here. Welcome, Richard. Great stuff. New owner tomorrow. Congratulations. I have a big question and suggestion. Can you see them adding facial recognition technology to start and drive the car? I mean, they have the camera suite to do it. I think one of the things that people get, a little bit sketched out about is maybe privacy concerns. But, Face ID with the iPhone has facial recognition, and it's just it probably is a little bit more advanced than a camera system, but there's probably like infrared and other stuff that really picks up, or maybe like retinal scans. So maybe it takes a little bit extra technology. I'm sure at some point they'll do that, but I do know, at least in the States, people are going to be freaked out about privacy. So maybe it's like a QR code in the meantime, and then it gets there. But I think over time, I think the crappy thing about technology and where we're going as a society is that we're probably going to have this anyway. So there's going to be advantages and disadvantages to that, right? Do you really want companies to have your face everywhere? I mean, they probably already do because you sign up for Costco, they take a picture of you. So yes, it's coming. I'm sure it'll come, Crazy stuff. Okay. let's end it there. Thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate y'all. If you enjoy the content, like and subscribe. I have links in the description below as well if you want to support the channel. We'll be back tomorrow with a podcast with Hans. Thank you all very much. Mwah. Love you guys.